televiewers, wherever you are, of course, this is Info TV here in Yaoundé. Thanks for joining us once more on your favorite program on this prestigious channel in Cameroon, Info TV. This is your program, Game of Thrones. And of course, today we'll be diverting or dealing with two major topics that's of great interest in Cameroon today. We'll be talking about decentralization of course, in Cameroon. Decentralization, is it, of course, something that is very visible in the country? This, of course, will be something that we'll be treating in the course of the program with various panelists that you, of course, know. The second question we'll be asking our panelists this very evening will be cabinet reshufflement. Is it a necessity in Cameroon? These, of course, are two major topics that are plying the atmosphere in Cameroon just a few days or weeks after the presidential election of Cameroon. And, of course, Cameroonians are asking, is, of course, decentralization something that needs to go so swift, or is it very slow in the country? Of course, we have a plethora of panelists that will be talking today with us. On my left, we have a social activist or a civil society activist. He's no other person than Lawson Ngwa. Good evening, Lawson, and welcome to the program.
Thank you, Phil. Good evening, televiewers. Good evening, my dear panelist, Mr. Chi. Good evening to all our millions of televiewers who are glued to their TV sets to enjoy this program.
Thank you very much. You're welcome once more to this very prestigious set. It is your second time to be with us on the Info TV, particularly on this very program. On my left, we have a communicator from the SDF, the Social Democratic Party in Cameroon. It is a political opposition party in the country, and it's been represented here by a communicator. He's no other person than Chi Diodone. Good evening and welcome to the program.
Good evening, dear brother. Good evening to my senior man, co-panelist. Good evening to our televiewers and the great family of the Social Democratic Front.
Thank you. Good evening. It is very obvious that we have 4 panelists that, of course, needs to be on set tonight, and we are expecting them in no distant time. Some of them are already here, and they will mount the podium, and we will deliberate on this very program. Stay tuned, because we'll be back in a jiffy. Just joining us, of course, this is your program, Game of Thrones, on Info Television here in Yaoundé. We'll dive directly to for what we have for you tonight, which, of course, is decentralization. Is it truly progressing in Cameroon? We actually know that there is a law that is, of course, governing this particular sector in the country. It's no other than the bill to institute the General Code of Regional and Local Authorities that was, of course, promulgated or accepted or signed in Cameroon on December 4th, 2019. December 24th, 2019. And these laws, of course, clearly identify or give directives on how the various local decentralized authorities ought to manifest in the country. Now, the question that we'll be asking our panelists, and one of our panelists, of course, is this actual aspect of decentralization in Cameroon? You're from the opposition party, the SDF, of course, and it is very obvious that you do have councils in the country, particularly. What I know, actually, we have the Kumba 2 Council. It's been governed by the SDF. I just want to ask you now, I put this into you, Chi Diodone. Do we have actually a clean and clear and truthful process of decentralization in Cameroon? Is it progressing or regressing?
Well, thank you very much for the question. It's important to clarify the fact that we don't run Kumba 2 Council now. We used to run Kumba 1, 2, and 3, but with the advent of the Anglophone crisis, you know, we lost those councils. So it's very important to know that. Having said, I would like that we situate decentralization not in 2019, but go back memory lane for you to understand what I'm about to say, because I will be letting our televiewers understand, and those that are listening to us, that decentralization is moving at a slow pace, which can be considered as not moving at all. And this is not the product of an accident, it is part of a Machiavellic plan, part of political dupery that was put in place since since the tripartite conference of 1991. So we situate the decentralization process from there. Now, looking at the origin of decentralization, it all started because political parties, civil society organizations, and of course the Cameroonian masses in general, under the leadership of the late chairman of the SDF, Nijon Frundi, were struggling to make sure that we had a sovereign national conference to reform the institutions of Cameroon, to define the foundation on which our nation will stand. And in the place of a sovereign national conference, after a lot of struggle, there was a tripartite conference was convened. And this tripartite conference, unfortunately, but not surprisingly, just like the 2019 National Dialogue, turned out to be a talk show, because at the tripartite conference, the main issues that were expected to be put on table, which is the refoundation of our nation, the definition of the institutional framework of our nation, the issue of independent electoral commission, the issue of a return to federalism to address the Anglophone problem that was very, very much alive then, were simply put aside, and what they focused on was immediate election. Now, the act of political dupery came when they said, all right, instead of talking federalism, and I quite remember it's important to point this to the Cameroonian people, especially the youths, that one of the outcomes of the tripartite conference was the putting in place of a constitutional committee that was to propose a draft document for the revision of the Constitution of the United Republic of 1972. And the president of that committee was late Professor Joseph Ouna. May he so rest in peace. The same man who is reported as saying that if Anglophones insist on a return to federalism, then he is going to insist on a Betty secession. So, please, now, at the end of the day, yes,
we are focused on the process of decentralization in Cameroon. Yes. It is very obvious that there are Cameroonians out there who are asking this question. Are they actually participating in the process in the country? We have local authorities, we have regional councillors, we have, of course, a member of the regional councils, and so on and so forth. Do actually these institutions are a symbol of a promotion of decentralization in the country?
I will answer your question. I may even answer.
Are they effective?
I will answer your question. But a program like this is important for the people to understand where we are coming from with decentralization, so that by the time I will draw my conclusion to insist on the fact that it is moving at a very slow pace, and the sluggish manner in which it is moving can be considered as if it is not moving. People should understand why I am saying so. When you look at this historical perspective, you discover that the issue of decentralization being put in the Constitution of 1996 was part of a plan that I call political dupery, to avoid giving power back to the people through a federal system. That, of course, in the words of late Senator Victor Mukete on the floor of Parliament, was the right system to give Cameroon a functional unity. Now they put decentralization in the Constitution and now define the form of state as a decentralized unity state. So decentralization was going to live hand in glove with a unitary state dispensation. But in this dispensation, what it actually meant was that the unitary state meant power to a single individual who is the president of the republic, who is all powerful and who is determining almost everything within the state. And decentralization was just part of the political dupery to make people feel that something is happening at the local levels, whereas it all depends on Yaoundé, on the presidency of the republic. That is the reason why it has not been moving. And to demonstrate it, when we had the first local elections in 1996, after those local elections, you know the first thing that came? Even without implementing decentralization the way it is, they created government delegates for the president of the republic to appoint government delegates to lord over mayors who are elected. And then the regional councils, which were supposed to be put in place long ago, to participate, of course, in the election of senators.
Those of course, those are the people that you call city mayor. Of course, today, these people, their positions are there thanks to the capacity of the various political parties within the city.
No, today they are electing them, for example, not so. But you ask the common Cameroonian, what is the relevance of these city mayors when there are mayors within the different subdivisions? Mayors have an administrative constituency. City mayors are just there. If you want to organize an event in Yaoundé, you are either in Yaoundé 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7. So why is the city mayor there? And you look at the cities of Yaoundé that are now decorated with dirt, for example, because that's a new flower that we have now to decorate our streets. It is under the competence of the city mayor. What are they doing about it? Decentralization, even the CPD and mayors have come to a conclusion that is not moving. Of recent, they were asking to meet the president of the republic, that they want to see him, because even with them in the councils that they run in the majority in Cameroon, it is not moving. And if you want to understand again whether it is moving or not, go back to the 2019 decentralization code that you stated. It is stated in section 5 that decentralization will be the main instrument to guarantee local development. Look at the way Cameroon is developing all over the national territory, and tell me whether it is moving.
These people do have financial authority, autonomy. Now, in their various area of control, in their various councils, they do have the possibility to vote their own budget. They do have the possibility to generate their own finance. Is this not a signal of perfect installation and movement of decentralization in Cameroon?
They vote a budget that in most cases, is just there for them to be able to run the local administration. The stake now is to consecrate local sovereignty. As the president of the republic has powers all over the entire territory because he was elected by the entire nation, in principle, the mayors who are elected by the people should have that same amount of power within their constituency. Because when you talk about the budget, the quantity of the budget is very small for them to carry out development. The decentralization code which you stated talks about the transfer of 15% of the state budget back to the different local territorial collectivities. But we're asking ourselves, and up to today, that transfer is not yet effective. But we're asking ourselves the questions. Why is it that the money needs to come to Yaoundé before Yaoundé decides to transfer? Why is it that it is not put clearly in the constitution that as financial resources are coming out from all the parts of the republic, this percentage goes automatically to local councils so that they can carry out their development, so that they can be able to recruit, create public services within their own councils. Today, the prerogative to create public services is mostly reserved to the central government, and the competencies are not yet transferred. Finances are not transferred. So when you are talking about the financial and administrative autonomy, it is just can we say 5% of the decentralization process. But what we are saying now is that Cameroonians should understand that decentralization is the outcome of political duty to avoid the functional system that will work for Cameroon, and that system is a federal system where constitutionally it is clearly established the powers of the local sovereigns who are mayors to effectively develop their communities, where people will have a percentage of the state budget automatically given to them by virtue of the constitution and not depending on the largesse of some central authority.
Thank you very much, Chi Dieudonné, for such an elaboration. Of course, on my left, we have Angwalason. It is very obvious that in Cameroon today, people are clamoring, people are asking the question, do we actually have, do this aspect of decentralization, is it actually effective in the country? There are local councils, people do vote their mayors, and we have regional elections, of course, which is coming up on November 30th, very soon, and people actually, these things, people are asking, are they actually working? Now, we have 15% or less, not less than 15% amount that has been that is being deducted from the finance law, and it is very obvious that these various municipalities need to benefit. But today, people are crying that they are not participating, they are not seeing the efforts of decentralization. Do you think this particular declaration is true or false?
Thank you very much, Phil. I would like to say that Cameroon is a heaven in its laws. but a hair in its applications. We have very beautiful laws, wonderful, but to apply these laws, it's a problem.
Which of the laws are not being applied?
Well, the 2019 code is so wonderful, but the implementation is a problem. Why do I say so? You see, look at in 20, but to say that the decentralization process is not ongoing would be a lie. It would be something very, very, subjective. At least there are some few changes that have taken place, especially in the regions that I know, like, for example, the Northwest, where I hail from. If you like, I will try to look at some of the achievements of decentralization within this region. You have at least from 2020, after the regional elections that were carried out, at least the new team that came on board, they put in place the administrative structures, the offices, and so on, the staff.
It is progressing.
It is progressing, no doubt. We can say that at least to an extent there is some progress, but to a larger extent it leaves a lot to be desired. We have the gradual realization of some socio-economic and infrastructural projects, such as the building and maintenance of schools, hospitals, and roads. And
the councils are the ones that are doing this?
They are the ones, but with very limited financial resources.
What do you mean by limited financial resources?
It wasn't until this year that the law on local taxation was voted by the National Assembly. You yourself, you mentioned here a while ago that the 15% that is allocated in the 2019 code to be taken from the budget, the budget of the National Assembly.
That's a barely minimum.
Yes.
That it means it can be upgraded as time goes
on. There should not, even the 15% has not been given to the regional and local authorities. Even that 15%, have they given it? If they give that 15%, or even about, let's say, between 10 and 15% for councils to function, it will be something.
Where do they get their resources?
Well, there are certain, resources which the councils had always had. For example, you have CAC, centime additionnel, and some other small taxes, market taxes that they get from 100 francs that they buy, they sell to market women, and some other small taxes produced from
but they work in collaboration with the government, because the law clearly states that in case they do lack of financial support, they can collaborate with the state, and the state, of course, will come in with developmental project or finance some of their project. And this, of course, some of the councils have been benefiting from this.
The success of every council depends on the largesse or the goodwill of the government. If, for example, most of the councils that are run by the opposition parties, they find it difficult to function because they have problems with administrative authorities who lord it over them. An elected official who is being cowed down into submission by an appointed personality. It doesn't work like that. That is why you see that there is a lot of laissez-faire, there is a lot of negligence, projects don't mature. Things are not realized so quickly within our regional and local authorities.
Of course, that's Lawson, civil society activists. Your deliberations are wonderful, and those who are watching you are beginning to be subjected to what you just said. Of course, I'll come back to you, Achi Diodone. You are not too happy with the atmosphere of decentralization in Cameroon, but it's very obvious that those who are in their various localities, some of them will applaud the state authorities for a wonderful collaboration today. Why is it that it is only the SDF that is not happy with decentralization or the process?
No, saying that it is only the SDF is an overstatement, because you have not done an opinion pool of all the possible opinions in Cameroon to know whether it is only the SDF as an institution that is not happy. I've told you that the mayors of the CPDM are not happy. That is why they were asking to see the President of the Republic. That this thing is not moving. We are mayors. but we have government delegates on us, city mayors on us now. We are mayors, but we have DOs and senior divisional officers oppressing us. You, the President of the Republic, you were elected and you are functioning nationally with all the powers able to determine a lot of things in Cameroon. Why is it that we who are beneficiaries of local sovereignty cannot also carry out, freely do what we have to do, have the means to do, have the means of our own politics? We made promises to the people, just like you, the President of the Republic, made promises. You have the powers to execute your promises, but we don't have the powers to execute our own. The powers that we have are a function of your caprices, of what you want and what you do not want. It doesn't work that way, sir. That is why my senior man is even stating the regional council here. And I keep insisting on why it is not working. Regional councils were set up at what time? Regional councils were set up. Ask yourself, why was the Senate set up before regional councils? Was the priority local governance? No. Regional councils are being set up after the Anglophone crisis. Within the Anglophone crisis, after people have died. And I told you from the beginning, that's why I was situating the foundation of this thing. The nature of decentralization was an act of political dupery to avoid putting in place a functional system that will address globally the governance problem in Cameroon and specifically the Anglophone problem. So they decided to go away from it and adopt decentralization.
But these councils, but these councils, of course, they do vote their budgets.
We have answered that. What is the amount of this budget and what can he do? How many mayors have you seen that they have taken them to court simply because they have mismanaged? The truth is that the amount of money, the amount of resources they have does not permit them to do a lot. And unfortunately, these councils are controlled in majority now by the CPDM, which means that even when they are totally in control, they do not want it to work. What they want to do is stay in power, and stay in power by all means. Now, when you look at the way the regional councils are put in place, is to underline the fact that when they avoided putting in place a federal system in 1996, and some people were even insisting that they will call for British secession if Anglophones insist on federalism. In 2019, after people had died, they went and organized another talk show in 2019. Something that was supposed to be a dialogue turned around to be a talk show where they came and said, we will now implement regional councils, and people are taking it as a trophy. There is nothing there, sir. There is no trophy there. And the regional councils up to today, even the special status in the Northwest and Southwest regions is not working. And it's all over the country. And the best way to even evaluate whether a system is working, look at the lives of the people. Look at local development. Go to the various subdivisions. Go to the southwest. Look at the road from Ekondo Titi to Kumba. Ekondo Titi.
It is not the duty of the council.
Look at all those areas. Local development, farm to market roads. Look at it. You will see whether it is working. Section 5 now of the decentralization code that was put in place says decentralization is the guarantor of local development. Are you seeing them able to do that? What we are moving towards now is to abandon lies telling, abandon political dupery, and give Cameroonians a functional system that will permit us to have effective national unity, that will permit local development to be a reality, that will make sure that youth have jobs, that will make sure that people don't embezzle our monies and go away with it. And I just tell you an example. Some time ago, they said that we have thousands of fake civil servants who are abroad and collecting salaries in Cameroon. And the report was saying that Cameroon is losing hundreds or even thousands of billions because of those fake civil servants. Now, within a federal system of government, unlike decentralization, when 90% of things depend on Yaoundé, within a federal system of government, a mayor will be the one to recruit the civil servants in his municipality. He has the possibility to see whether they are working at any time T. He can investigate and know, and he has the interest to make sure that they work, because the next election, his mandate depends on the evaluation of the people on whether he is working. And the people will be able to ask him, Mr. Mayor, our children don't have teachers. Is it that you did not recruit teachers, or you recruited teachers and they are not there? If they are not there, why are they not there? He has to answer concrete questions. And in such a dispensation, no mayor will permit that teachers are recruited and they are not at their duty post. But within a centralized system disguised as decentralization, as I said, it's a concept of political duty put in place by the system, and they master it very well. People make you feel that something is happening at the base. But what is happening at the base? I didn't say nothing is happening. I said what is happening at the base is so little that it can be considered that nothing is happening.
That's Chijido. Of course, I come back to you, Ngwalao's son. Chijido, he said nothing is happening. Of course, you go to various municipalities, for example, in the central region and other regions in Cameroon, you come to discover that there are roads that are being pop up on daily basis. You come to see infrastructures, schools that are being built. Is this not a sign of a progress?
Let me take.
In the past, we had not such an opportunity, but today it is visible.
What you are saying is right, but I want to tell you that you see, our brothers and sisters from the French-speaking regions of Cameroon, they were brought up. I don't blame them. They were brought up in a Jacobinic system. What is the Jacobinic system? The Jacobinic system is a hyper-centralized system where everything from the creation of a primary school to a university, that decision must come from the center. Our brothers and sisters of this other part of Cameroon,
they do have councils.
Yes.
There are councils in the central region. There are councils in the
we understand.
There are councils in the south, northwest, and so on and so
Remember
forth.
that the aspect of regionalism, the concept of regionalism that was brought into the 1996 constitution was borrowed from former West Cameroon. Because in former West Cameroon, when we were still part of the Nigerian Federation, remember that British Southern Cameroon, we had a special status. British Southern Cameroon was a quasi-federal entity within Nigeria. We were managed as a region with autonomy. So we know we master what is called local development. And when President Ahidjo came to Boya in 1976, he was so amazed with development in West Cameroon that he decided to create CEFAM in Boya. That is why CEFAM was created in Boya in 1976, because he wanted the French-speaking Cameroonians to learn something from the English-speaking minority. Self-development, participatory development, grassroots development. That is what decentralization is all about.
But when you talk about development, of course, you come to see that these councils do have empowerment programs that do empower people, and of course you come to discover that in various councils also services are not centralized only. There are people at times, we have even mayors who do have their deputy and so on and so forth. These are of course visible signs that everything is going on.
It is apparent.
Although it is slow, but it is functional.
Yes, very, very slow. Painfully slow. And remember, the failure of decentralization is one of the causes of the Anglophone crisis. Had it been decentralization as it was enshrined in the 1996 constitution was rapidly implemented, we wouldn't have come to that level.
They were not asking for decentralization when the uprising started.
No,
it wasn't an affair of decentralization.
But they were asking for federalism, a return to federalism. But which
we have a centralized state, we have a decentralized state, of course, and it's very obvious that each and every Cameroonian do participate in the development of Cameroon. That's visible evidence.
Yeah, Phil, what I'm saying is that in 2016, if the government of Cameroon had implemented decentralization according to the spirit and the letter of the law that was created in 1996, there wouldn't have been any need for lawyers and teachers asking for a return to federalism. It's the absence of proper decentralization.
In Cameroon today, we have various ministerial departments, and these various ministerial departments are being represented in various regions. We have regional delegations, we have divisional delegations, and so on and so forth.
Yes.
And these people are taking care of the various activities that are closer to the people. These are proofs. And Cameroonians are benefiting from it, and the success or the effect or the result has been palpable, is very obvious.
It is giving the goat with the right hand and holding the rope with the left hand.
What kind of rope are you talking about?
The decentralization is the rope that has been given to Cameroonians, but the implementation is not sincere.
So are you telling us that those are regional delegates and divisional delegates are not functioning? That's what you're telling us?
They are functioning, but they are not functioning to full capacity. And especially, let me just give you the example of when a mayor, for example, when a mayor is chosen by the Central Committee, after council elections, remember all the investitures within the ruling party are done by the Central Committee. There are no primaries within the party to allow the best candidates to be chosen. So when those investitures are done by the Central Committee and after the elections, it is still the Central Committee that imposes who is a mayor. So when you are a mayor chosen by the Central Committee, there is no way you
Central Committee of a party?
Yes, of a party. When you are chosen by the Central Committee to be the mayor of a council after the council elections, there is nothing you can do to go above hierarchy. So there is still a lot to be done to fine-tune our decentralization.
And what do you think needs to be done?
Okay, you are now taking us now to the way forward. The way forward is for us to carry out an overhaul of our institutions in a sincere manner without being politicians. Let us overhaul our institutions in such a way that we have but the future ahead of us. We are not doing it to please those who are here and now. That is what we should do. We should fast track the decentralization process by, implementing the 2019 code. I've told you it's a wonderful code.
But it is, of course, something that needs, it is participatory. Those who are in at the local level ought to communicate, participate wholeheartedly with the local authorities. But if this is not done, do you think the authorities that are there will attain their objectives?
For the case of the Northwest and Southwest regions where you have this violence, where you have this socio-political crisis, how do you expect the population to participate when we have been crying on a daily basis, pleading, appealing that the powers that be should organize at least 2 regional dialogues for the Northwest? I want to speak for the Northwest and Southwest
regions.
That's
not the case in other regions.
Yes, the other regions we have relative peace, but I'm talking about the Northwest and Southwest regions where I come from and which are hardest hit since 2016. We are appealing to the government to organize a sincere regional dialogues beginning at subdivisional level, coming up at divisional level, and ending at regional level, to allow the grassroots population to air and unburden their minds. You understand, Papa? Unburden their minds and then come out with resolutions and recommendations that will be forwarded to hierarchy. Such a dialogue, of course, should be preceded by an amnesty, grace, pardon. Let everybody be removed from the prisons so that we sit down and talk. Within 2 months, you'll see that when we have peace, decentralization will flow.
There's peace in Cameroon?
No, in some parts, there's no peace in the Northwest and Southwest
regions. People are living and people are going about their daily activities.
No, in some Northwest, Southwest, Far North regions, these regions
people are going about their daily activities, and as we speak, there are people there who there are goods that are being transported from the Far North coming to the Central region and other parts of the country.
Yes, but
things are unfolding without any issue.
It is uneasy peace.
What do you mean by uneasy peace?
It is uneasy peace. Peace that is not predicated on justice. Peace that is not predicated on equity, on fairness. Peace at the barrel of the gun is not real peace. Real peace comes from justice. When there is justice, when there is fairness, equity. I want to use this opportunity to extend my heartfelt condolences to my brothers and sisters in Sabga, my Muslim brothers and sisters in Sabga who were killed the other day when people broke into their mosque and shot and killed them.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Lawson. I'll come back to you, Chi Jodune. You are not too comfortable with the aspect of decentralization in Cameroon. You feel very uncomfortable due to the fact that it is not actually progressing. But it is very obvious that there are other parties, there are, of course, authorities, council that are progressing in Cameroon, and we have wonderful buildings in various councils. Even when your council, when your party was leading this SDF, the SDF party was leading the Kumbatu subdivision, of course, you had a magnificent building. It was thanks to a collaboration between your party leader and the people of Meme. And of course, these are clear and visible signs of decentralization. And in the past 7 years, before now, there has been some progress, but you are denying the fact. Why are you denying the fact? of course, things are visible?
Well, I will still insist that I did not deny the fact that there is progress. But that progress is as slow as no progress. That is straight like that. The progress is as slow as no progress. Like I said from the onset, decentralization is not working because it was programmed not to work. It was programmed as political duty to make people feel that things are happening. The only difference between decentralization and Article 66 of the Constitution, which up to today has not been applied, is that Article 66 has just been put aside. But decentralization has at least been given an opportunity, and people go to the polls, elect mayors and councillors, elect councillors and regional councillors, and they give the impression that something is going, but that's not it. It's all political dupery. You are citing the Kumba Council. Well, maybe you tell me that because there is the Paul Biya glass house here, Cameroon is moving so well, or maybe because the Unity Palace is a very beautiful structure, Cameroon is moving so well. Those are things that are good, but the daily lives of the people, how are the people living? Are the youths having jobs? Do they have employment opportunities? This is the concrete question that decentralization is supposed to answer. Is there local development? How is the level at which our people now access social amenities at local levels? Coming to our cities, which are also the object of decentralization, when you look around Yaoundé, you are really comfortable that things are moving. I've told you that the flowers now in Yaoundé are the long kilometers of dirt littered on the streets. You feel that decentralization is moving? Do you understand why in a city like Yaoundé they will tell you that it is the mayor that is supposed to clean the streets in all the subdivisional councils? Is it because the mayors who are loading the subdivisional councils do not have the competence to take care of the cities? No. Do you understand why they will tell you that they need to appoint a prefect to control the mayor? Who is controlling the president of the republic? Is it because the mayor is so adamant about the law? He doesn't understand the law. He doesn't know his left from his right, and yet he was voted by the people. That is why he needs somebody behind him to control him like a Galako, to supervise him. No, it doesn't work that way.
We have, of course, in Cameroon, we have the president of the republic, and the president cannot be at every moment in time everywhere. That's why we have the SDOs and the DOs today in the country. And aside that, we have other auxiliaries that are working in collaboration with this authority. The president of the republic. That's a promotion of it, to make sure that at least if people are not finding, or they are not comfortable in one environment, maybe in their activities and so on and so forth, they can of course get in contact with those that are closer to them and channel their worries to the authorities that be in Yaoundé. And this is a clear example that Cameroon decentralization is in progress.
The president of the republic should preoccupy himself with handling national and international issues. What the president of the presidency of the republic and the central administration is supposed to be handled is what cannot be handled at local level.
What do you mean by that?
Yes, meaning that the mayor who is elected is supposed to have full competence and resources to carry out his policy, just like the president of the republic has his own. Let the president of the republic take care of our diplomatic issues. Let him take care of national issues that affect the entire nation, and allow the mayors and the regional governors, as would be the case within the federal dispensation, because we are moving towards that, handle their own activities. And you will permit me tell you this, and to our televiewers, on the 6th of December 2020, a revelation was brought to me, and I presented that revelation on one of your sister channels. The president of the republic came to power through dialogue, and he should leave power through dialogue. He came to power and he made Cameroon in a different dispensation, but he is expected to leave Cameroon in a federal dispensation, which may be modified anyway, but the people should be given the chance to bring the modifications to that federal dispensation themselves. This was a revelation. I shared it, and I am still insisting on it, because this is probably the last opportunity for the President of the Republic to come on that.
If the people were not comfortable with their local authorities, they wouldn't vote during elections. Chijedone.
If the people were not comfortable with their local authorities, they wouldn't vote during elections. You want us to go back to the issue of election? You want us to consult the issue of ghost voters?
We are talking about municipal elections, and of course they do vote these authorities because they know, they do have confidence in them, and they know that at the end of the day, development will follow suit. And they are working in close collaborations with these authorities. And today the development is very visible within their area of control. Don't you think to say decentralization is not up to what you think is an overstatement?
It's not an overstatement with respect to me, sir. I'm saying that the slow pace at which it's moving is equal to not moving. Now, you want me to be a judge of the people's vote. The people vote for so many reasons which you cannot elucidate. And I, being a servant of the people, cannot come here to question why they vote the way they vote. But this orientation of towards a federal dispensation is also something that I am telling the people on which they will have to articulate the future going ahead. That said, I want to end where my senior man ended. You know, the Muslim community in the Northwest, unfortunately clouded by a lot of things. One could easily forget that, but it's unfortunate what is happening in the Northwest and Southwest regions with multiple kidnaps and killing of civilians. And it's an opportunity for me to...
Chijedone,
yes.
Those are declarations. I don't think you have statistics with them.
So what statistics?
What statistics? When you talk about killings, people are unfolding, they are carrying on their activities in the Northwest.
In Sabga, people
are working. When you talk about killings, it's like there's too much of manslaughter there, which of course it's contrary to what is actually going on.
In Sabga, people were killed.
In the North and the Southwest, there are activities. We have government officials who are operating there without any problem.
In Sabga,
we have the security forces who are there without any problem. But we say that things are not unfolding as it was in the past.
We are saying that, please, we are saying that in Sabga people were killed. Today, my district chairman, one of our district chairmen in the Northwest was recently released from captivity. And you know it as a journalist that shortly after the presidential election that just passed in the Northwest, a parliamentarian of the CPDM was killed. You don't need more evidence to this, sir. So the opportunity is given to me to extend the empathy of the Social Democratic Front and to reiterate our commitment for a political solution to political problems. Our stance with respect to the so-called Anglophone crisis is well known, and we will keep doing our best to make sure that the dignity of the people is restored.
Thank you very much, Chijedone, a communicator from the SDF opposition political party in Cameroon. I'll come back to you, Lawson. It is very obvious that you do appreciate decentralization, the process in Cameroon. You do accept the fact that it is, of course, existing, and the authorities that has been designated to make sure or to promote decentralization in the country, they are doing their job. What do you think needs to be done in order to make decentralization very visible, in order to make Cameroonians who are in their various municipalities participate wholeheartedly and make sure that the Cameroon that you are aspiring for become the Cameroon that your children will benefit from?
Thank you, Phil. I am not a prophet of doom. In every civil, in our federal decentralization, present decentralization, when I started, I told you that there were some visible signs of achievement. For example, the public independent conciliators for the Northwest and Southwest regions. To be very honest, they have been doing a marvelous job. You know, there are equally peace-building programs in the Northwest, where you have the Peace Development Initiative that has developed into the Peace Development Committees. But these peace development initiatives and committees can be raised through a regional dialogue. You understand now, Papa? That's what we are saying. Let a regional dialogue be organize for these two regions, bring all the parties together, bring all sociological groups together, bring all stakeholders together, so that they brainstorm. At the end of it, the international community will see that yes, the government is serious in trying to bring peace, broker peace. We have the high intensive labor activity in the northwest and in the southwest. These are good achievements of decentralization. I've told you that the code on regional and local authorities is very much like a federal constitution. The problem is the implementation. It means that if we have men and women who come to power that are serious and they carry out an honest and sincere implementation of this code, it will seem as if Cameroon has gone back to federalism, because there we have principles like complementarity and subsidiarity, which are principles that are practiced in federal states. In a federal state like Nigeria, I have what we call the exclusive list, you have the concurrent list, and you have the residual list. Those are issues that exclusive lists are issues that are there exclusively by the central government. The concurrent lists are issues that can be managed both by the central government and the federated states. And then the residual list are issues that can only be handled by the federated states. We have them in the code. So we have a good code, but we lack people with honesty to implement this code. So for the way forward, I am pleading that the section 25 of this code should be implemented. 15% of the state budget should be.
That's the minimum.
Yes,
that's the
minimum.
Meaning it can exceed up to maybe 30%,
exactly,
100%, and
yes.
so on and so forth.
Insecurity, the government should organize a sincere regional dialogue for all parties to come in.
Thank you very much.
And dialogue, so that at the end of that dialogue, people can implement, because it is not only the government to implement decentralization. Even the common man, if there is peace, the common man will implement that decentralization.
There is peace in Cameroon, and of course that's the reason why you are with us on set today. We welcome Prince Ekoso, who happens to be the national president of the United Democratic Socialist Party in Cameroon. Welcome and good evening to the program.
Thank you. My dear brother, I am sorry for the late coming. There are a lot of things that one handles when it concerns issues like this, that at the end of the day you start finding yourself running behind time. So time is never enough, but I'm happy that I'm here, and I greet my fellow panelists, and I believe that the discussion has already started on a good footing, because when I listen to what my brother is saying, it all falls within the discussions which normally surround the topic, and I believe that our televiewers are understanding what it means by decentralization and how decentralization can be implemented. Of course,
they do understand, and they are watching keenly. I'll just put this into you, because very soon we'll be wrapping up the first phase of the program. Decentralization in Cameroon, people say it is not progressing. What's your take on that?
Well, it depends on the perspective via which we look at it, and most importantly, we must understand the kind of system under which we operate. And just like I listened to the last part of what my brother was explaining over there, that the laws on decentralization are very, very effective laws when you look at it from paper. And we believe strongly that the hindrance to that is the implementation, because when we have good laws and we cannot implement them, it doesn't really make the laws to be good.
Now, when you talk about we have a hindrance on the implementation of this 2019 law, what hindrance are you talking about? Because today we do have the authorities that has been installed to make sure that they do promote decentralization in the country. We have the various mayors, we have even some of the ministerial departments in Cameroon. These departments are being decentralized. We have divisional delegates, regional delegates, and so on and so forth. We see some of these authorities in the local territorial collectivities. They do carry on projects, and people are participating. Now, why do you say it is slow? Do you think something has not yet been done?
Yeah, you know, I'll continue to refer from his perspective, because what he explained actually enters within my reflection and what I had already looked at with regards to this topic. I always tell people that one of the hindrances to good governance, especially in our context, is the ability of the will. You know, when the will is not there, no matter the text that we have, good texts, good laws, when the people who are supposed to implement it don't have that will to implement it, then you will always find that there is going to be hindrances.
Of course, there's going to be hindrances. A solution to this, to make sure that we do have an effective, clean, we talk about crystal clear decentralization process in the country.
I want to remind us that decentralization is Cameroon is the only country in the world that has that term in terms of, you know, let me say sharing of power. It's the only country in the world that has that term, decentralization. As a matter of fact, per the description of this decentralization, just like my brother was saying, it is the implementation of federalism. So I personally, I have a problem mentioning that word decentralization, because the implementation of decentralization is federalism, and that is what we stood for. That is what my party stands for, federalism, because it has all the components of federalism. And now, when people come up with policies and they find it difficult to implement those policies, I can only say that probably they don't master what it takes to be able to implement those policies. Or number two, they are scared to be able to implement those policies because it will make them to actually have limited amount of power. Because mind you, the issue of leadership is about power. And sometimes power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And when people are talking about the corruption in our country, corruption goes alongside the fact that people are unable to implement policies that have been designed by our elected officials. When people are elected, they are elected to be able to maintain or to be able to refine laws. And I want to add by saying that when society, what are the reasons for changes in society? What are the reasons for the change of laws? What are the reasons for the change of policies? It is because the society itself gets through this process of changes. The people we had in the election in 2018 are not the same candidate that we have in 2025. The candidate we are going to have in 2032 will not be the same that we have in 2025. So what I'm saying is that the mutation of the society gives us the opportunity to be able to change laws and to be able to follow the dynamism of the changes that we experience. But when people are stalemate, when people are stagnant, it doesn't only frustrate the implementation of policies, it frustrates even they themselves who have the power, because power is there to be used. But if you cannot use the power and use it effectively, then you become stagnant with the power in your hands, and at the same time it frustrates the entire country. So what we are saying is that the times have changed and we need to actually change with the times.
Thank you very much, Prince Ekoso, for such an elaboration. I'll come back to you, Chi Dieudonné. We are wrapping up this first phase of the program. A solution to make sure that we do have a proper follow-up and a truthful decentralization process.
We just need to move forward from what can be seen as a political scam to what is functional, which is a federal dispensation. And it's not only the SDF that is saying it. It is not Chi Dieudonné.
Chi Dieudonné, the form of the state is already certain. We have a state that, of course, is not the federal state, and you already know the form of the state that we do have. So we are not talking about federalism.
We are saying, therefore, that that form of state can be changed, will be changed, and should be changed. And we are going towards a federal dispensation. So the way forward is that the President of the Republic and all political actors should take note of this and play their role to make sure that we get into that dispensation in a more orderly, in a more peaceful manner. They have the opportunity, and that opportunity is through a sincere dialogue and of course encouraging all the other forms of dialogue that will permit Cameroonians redefine the institutions. To conclude, that it's not only us who are saying it, the people who crafted it have said it themselves. Late Senator Victor Mukete, may his soul rest in peace, he concluded that the system he took part in building before he died has failed, and that it was time for Cameroon to have functional unity, and that unity can only be guaranteed within a federal dispensation. President Paul Biya came up and said he understands that Cameroonians are so frustrated, and the frustrations of Cameroonians stem in a majority from the governance system of Cameroon, which must be changed, and we're moving towards that federal system that will guarantee functional unity.
Thank you very much. In his speech, in his inaugural speech, he made mention of the fact that he understands that the cries of Cameroonians, and everything will be put in place to make sure that things go well. I'll come back to you, your last word concerning this particular topic, a way forward to a successful implementation of decentralization in Cameroon.
Thank you, Phil. The first thing I would like to say is that prefectural administrators should be given a lot of capacity building. We need a change of mindset in Cameroon concerning decentralization, which I will join back my brother to say that you find it difficult to use decentralization. You use the word regionalism. That is the best substitute for the word decentralization. Regionalism. Capacity building of prefectural officers. We need to train people on innovation and creativity, because that is what is lacking in most of our councils and regional authorities, where the councillors, since many of them are drafted by the central committee, they find it difficult to take initiative, because if you take an initiative that is not binding with the party, you may be fired. So people tend to toe the line of the party more than doing the right thing. Then we need to fight against inertia, and then we need to communicate. There are institutions that are supposed to communicate on decentralization, like the National Decentralization Council that is just there, is not doing anything. We have the National Decentralization Board, we have the Interministerial Committee for Local Services, which is found in the Ministry of Territorial Administration. All these structures, they just eat money for nothing. They will not see what they do.
Thank you very much.
Then the local public service needs to be set up.
Thank you very much, Lawson, civil society activist. Thank you very much, dear televiewers. Of course, we've come to the end, the first phase of this program, and we'll be diverting directly to the second phase of the program, which of course is talking about government cabinet reshufflement. Is it a necessity? Let's take this transition. Let's get a glass of water, and we'll be
Hey students, missed out on lessons recently? Do not worry, the Distance Learning Center has you covered with the National Catch-Up Lessons program. From now to December 15, 2025, join us and get back on track in all your subjects. Whether you're revising for exams or filling in learning gaps, these sessions will help you build confidence and excel. Don't be left behind. Tune in, learn, and grow.
Thank Thanks for joining us once more. We divert directly to what we have for you as menu tonight. This, of course, our second topic, which, of course, is government reshufflement. Is it a necessity in Cameroon? We will come to discover that a few days after the presidential election, thanks to or due to the tradition in Cameroon, it is no news that Cameroonians are expecting a reshufflement within the atmosphere of the government, and it is no news that there are some people who are mumbling and grumbling whether they are going to man the same position due to their performances in the past 7 years. Of course, with our panelists today, we're going to discuss or digest this particular topic, which of course is of great interest, of great interest in Cameroon, as they will be telling us whether it is it's going to be a means to compensate those who work so very well and hard before the presidential election in Cameroon. I'll commence with you, Prince Ekoso. You are, of course, the national president of a opposition party in Cameroon. It is very obvious that cabinet reshufflement is no news to you. Do you think that it is going to be a reward or it's going to be a punishment? Are we expecting it very soon?
Well, let me try to give an illustration before coming to the nitty-gritty of your question. I would like to explain something here which I call it political literacy, which I believe that most Cameroonians don't understand the world of politics. Now, we have what we call systems, we have what we call regimes, and we have what we call government, and we have what we call the president or the prime minister. All of these are institutions that actually culminate to be able to give a face of governance and how the governance is being run. Now, the system, in the context that I'm trying to explain to our viewers, system has different dimensions. For example, in the context of Cameroon, the system under which we operate is what we call the colonial system. Whether we like it or not, the colonial system still runs our affairs through our educational system, through our politics, through our economy, and so on and so forth. And there are powers that be international powers that are the ones doing the drafting of that system. There is nothing you can do about that.
Are you telling us today?
Let me. I'm educating our public. Okay. Don't cut me, because you cut me, my brain is going to function. Okay. Now, after coming out from that system, that is a system, you have what we call the regimes. The regimes are a set of governance policies, or let me say another subsystem, that actually has a combination of both external and internal actors. And from there you have what we call the government. Like, for example, the government of Cameroon, which is coordinated by a presidential by a president, and coordinated by prime minister and ministries. Now, in this context, in Cameroon, we have what we call, all of these things I'm trying to explain are found in our context. But now, who has the powers to be able to make sure that there are changes either within the system or within the regime or within the government or within the president or around the president? Now, people may think that the decisions to be able to carry out cabinet reshufflement is contingent only in the hands of the president. My response is no, and categorically no. The idea or the decision to be able to carry out cabinet reshufflement in any government is not only contingent in the hands of the president. There are many other aspects or many other
in the Cameroonian context.
In the Cameroon, that's what I'm explaining. In the Cameroonian context, the President Biya is not the sole person who takes the decision on what or who is appointed.
Where does he get his advice from?
I have just explained something here, which I believe I am moving in chronologically, which I prefer that you leave me to explain so that people can understand. Now, the president can have external and internal advisors, and he does have it. Our President Biya has external advisors and internal advisors. Now, like I said, the issue of cabinet reshufflement has become something like a ritual in our country, in such a way that people go to some extremes to make sure that they participate in the reshufflement exercise. And that is one of the elements that has created a lot of corruption and mismanagement in our context. The President of the Republic has often mentioned that I've forgotten the right word to use. Not that one. He said we cannot remove the team that is winning. On the charge, keep going. You know, listen. Sometimes I call Cameroonians to be able to listen to what President Biya says from time to time. Those things that he says have a lot of implication and a lot of weight with what he's trying to communicate to the people. And if you listen to him carefully and the things that he says, you will be able to know that whether he is going to change to the left or he's going to change to the right. Now, we had an election in this country in 2018. People came on TV and made illustrations and analyzed the situation and gave the president few months and told him that if he doesn't do this thing this way, this is how the country is going to go. If he doesn't do this way, that's how the country is going to go. We came, now we are in 2025, we have just gone into another presidential election. There was no cabinet reshufflement since 2018. I mean, there was no cabinet reshufflement. When we talk about cabinet reshufflement, we are talking about the changes, I mean fundamental changes that happens within the government. But as it stands, we are getting to the about 14 years. Some people have been there for 37 years, 40 years in the same ministry, in the same position, in the same post. So when people come and say, is it necessary? For me, the answer is simple. The context where we find ourselves and from what President Biya has been operating, I don't see any necessity for us to come here and to push and say he should carry out.
There's no minister in Cameroon who has been minister for over 40 years. There's no minister in Cameroon.
The minister of higher education, how long has he been there?
He has not been. He has not been there. There's no minister. There's no minister in Cameroon that has been there for 40 years.
It cannot be 22 years.
I'll come back to you, Ekoso.
It cannot be 22 years.
I'll come back to you, Prince.
The minister of higher education cannot be 22 years. Isa Chiruma, who just left, he has been there for 22 years. You cannot compare Isa Chiruma and the minister of higher education.
You have the floor.
He's been there for about 25 years.
Are we expecting a cabinet reshufflement? Is it something that, of course, is going to be of great importance to those who are in power or those who are occupying a post of responsibility in Cameroon? This cabinet reshufflement, is it a means to compensate those who work so very well in close collaboration with the President of the Republic? Is it going to be another way of compensating them with a cabinet reshufflement or with an appointment, or is going to be another means of punishment?
Well, we're just saying what we think, what we wish, but reshufflements obey to a fundamental character, irrespective of how you analyze it. The fundamental character of a cabinet reshuffle is its discretionary nature, and one does not comment discretion, because when you are commenting a discretion, it's like commenting a comment, because you don't have the elements that permit you to actually say why an act of reshufflement is done and who is chosen and for what purpose. Now, asking me if it is necessary, I will tell you yes, it is necessary. It is necessary because there are a lot of vacuums in government. Ministers have died, others have resigned, and of course, it's important that they replace them. It is necessary. We're just coming out of an election, and I quite remember when we had the opportunity here, I said, irrespective of whatsoever happened within the 2025 election, there was a message that was echoed, the message for change. And whosoever was going to be the president of Cameroon after this presidential election was to handle a transitional mandate There is a political transition that is imposing itself on all political actors.
Is it the first-hand information or you're just doubting?
First-hand information or what?
Is it the first-hand information? Is it an information that you do have sources, or you are just saying it out of your own personal conviction?
Well, those that are listening to me and the powers that be will understand my message better. So let us leave it at that level. Now, whosoever is president of Cameroon now has to function within a transitional dispensation, and the president of the president of the republic, who is there, will function within that transition. Putting in place a government, according to me, should be a government of mission, at least, or a transition government. A transition government with a clear mandate to set the basis for the definition of a new Cameroon going forward. With a clear mandate to pacify Cameroon.
It is very obvious that there are some Cameroonians are complaining that there are a lot of ministerial departments in the country, and expecting such a cabinet reshufflement will go a long way to maybe dissolve some of these ministerial departments, reduce them to a fraction, and promote efficiency.
The solution of ministerial departments is something that is desirable, but getting there is a process. We are saying cabinet reshuffle is not about telling the president whether he reduces ministerial department or is increasing them, but we are saying that we are in a transition mandate, and the president of the republic is expected to put in place a transition government or a mission government whose purpose will be to pacify Cameroon, whose purpose will be to put in place conditions that will permit Cameroonians build the foundation on which they will be taking Cameroon ahead, which purpose will be making Cameroonians have confidence in the institutions, which purpose will be assuring Cameroonians, making sure that Cameroonians see that hope that he is talking about, that he has been talking about. Let Cameroonians be able to see it. This government, of course, like I said, is an act of discretion. But if I had to suggest, I would let the president of the republic understand that he would need to go out of the party logic. He will need to go out of the logic that he has been using and think about something else that will address these issues.
Your party, the party authorities, are they expecting any compensation, or are they expecting to work with the government in power?
Which party authorities?
I'm talking about the SDF. Is the SDF willing to work with the party in power?
No, the decision of working with the party in power or not working to the party in power is the exclusive prerogative of the National Executive Committee of the party. And if you want to talk about persons, the most authoritative voice that should pronounce himself on such an issue is the national chairman of the party. I'm not competent to make such statements.
Thank you.
So what I say is, to an extent, the product of the realities as we see it, and the insight that I have about the future going ahead.
Thank you very much, Tj Rone from the SDF political party in Cameroon. I'll come to you, Angola Sound. It is very obvious that Cameroonians are saying it's been long, it's been a while, they haven't had the possibility to see a cabinet reshufflement in Cameroon. Do you think actually this process is of great importance to the government in power right now?
Yes, I feel from a political science perspective, a cabinet reshuffle is the appointment of people by the president or a prime minister, as the case may be, or a king in a kingdom, in a monarchy.
Cameroon is not the monarchy.
We are just given a general definition.
We are in a republic.
Yes.
And we do practice democracy.
From the general now we come to the specific. So that, as I want to queue up with my brother, it's a discretionary activity, And within the context of Cameroon, there are three people who are very fundamental in forming a government. You have the President of the Republic, you have the Prime Minister, as stated in the Constitution, that the President shall appoint the Prime Minister, and with the collaboration of the Prime Minister, the other members of government will be appointed. Then we have the Politburo or the Central Committee of the party. Those are the kingmakers that are involved in forming a government. Now, coming to whether the necessity, whether this government is, whether a cabinet reshuffle is needed in Cameroon, I say yes. Why? Since 2019, the last cabinet was on the 4th of January 2019, if I'm not mistaken, when Prime Minister Joseph Diongute was appointed. Ever since, about 5 ministers have died, 2 have resigned. So there are about 9 vacancies that are found in the government. Secondly, there are so many ministers within our government who have spent more than 20 years and they have become ineffective, inefficient. And they have become boring. You know, when you are too long in a position, no matter what you say, no matter what you do, people don't listen to you. So we need that government to inject new blood within the system so that that energy can enable certain institutions to function. We need to satisfy coalition partners. You know, the president was just re-elected. He was not re-elected from the blues. He had coalition members who helped him, who supported him.
So you are expecting the president, in case of any cabinet reshuffle,
of course,
to bring in his...
I expect him to form a national unity government, considering the context, the post-electoral context in which we find ourselves, with a lot of violence, with a lot of complaints, even the way Cameroonians voted this time around. You see that most people, the president lost in some constituencies. That was a sanctioned vote. So from that, apart from that too, we need a cabinet reshuffle to streamline the political configuration of the country for purposes of achieving peace, fairness, equity, balance, and geopolitical and strategic level.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Angwala.
Fight against corruption and malgovernance.
Thank you very much, Angwala. Also, I'll come back to you, Prince Ekusu. It is very obvious that there are some Cameroonians who will say there are some various ministerial departments where you go there, you find certain category or certain people from a particular region, and some of them are complaining that these people do welcome only people from their areas, and when they do arrive there, they do not receive the kind of treatment they were expecting. Do you think this idea of a cabinet reshuffle will be something that will extinct the idea of man no man to get to somewhere?
Well, like I mentioned earlier, the context of Cameroon when it comes to administration and services, you know, it's true sometimes you don't want to really get into some of those nitty-gritties of the situation, but generally speaking, the aspect of services, be it in our public and private institutions, is one of the weakest. I've gone to several countries in the world. The way people receive you in government offices and even in private offices is different from the way they receive us in our own country in Cameroon. All right? And so the aspect of evoking that concept...
Is it done voluntarily?
The aspect of evoking that concept of man no man, you know, for me is a weak argument. Why? Because when you are sent to go and represent an institution somewhere, you are supposed to know that you are in a public space. Public space means that you receive everybody and you are supposed to receive everybody equally. But when you go there and you decide to transform that environment to an environment of tribalism, which is what you are trying to evoke, man no man in our context is tribalism.
Nepotism.
And we have had this aspect of tribalism, which in my view, the president himself has condemned it on several occasions. But the idea of tribalism is what I believe strongly many politicians have used to be able to perpetuate themselves in power. And so when you say that the president has to carry out reforms per the subject of appointing people, will it automatically solve the problem of tribalism and nepotism as he mentioned? The answer is categorically no. Why? Because the system via which I explained earlier, did not prepare our people to embrace the republic. Did not prepare our people to embrace the republic. And that is why I say that the aspect of you know, what do you call it, how do you call it again?
Man, no man, no, and so on and so forth.
The topic in question,
cabinet reshufflement.
Cabinet reshufflement. Cabinet reshufflement has never been a panacea in the context in Cameroon. Never. And so, in my view, whether President Paul Biya carries out cabinet reshufflement or not, my brother here mentioned about something about transition. And in my speech via the wake of election, I mentioned that we are already in a transitional phase of our country. And this transitional phase has two basic elements that must be taken into consideration. One, we must understand that the country has gone through a system which has not worked. Two, we must understand that what will work is what the people must be ready to embrace. If they are not ready to embrace what will work, it will go back to what has been.
Now
that means let me conclude this statement.
Yeah.
That means that we are only going to accompany, my brother mentioned something about accompanying, you know, the same system to the, what we call le changement en façade in French. What we need, the change we need, and I must tell us today, Cameroonians were ready for change in 2025, but the politicians were never ready.
Now,
that is why the issue of cabinet reshufflement for me is not a priority. There are certain elements like the decentralization we are talking about, like the federalism we are talking about. Changing of the system is a more priority now than changing human beings who have been there for 30 years and just shift them from one level to the other.
You come to discover that there are people who are also saying that there are certain ministers who do occupy positions that, of course, do not collaborate or do not tie with their level of education. For example, you might be an engineer and they do find you at the Ministry of Public Health. You might be maybe a teacher and they do find you at another ministry that does not relate with what you study. Now tell us, do you think this cabinet reshuffle might be a solution to such problem in Cameroon?
Well, I will still stay on my logic, and based on what I have grown to see President Paul Biya implement in all of his years as the leader of this country. Cabinet reshufflement doesn't mean anything to me. But if at all, during this period of transition, which is fundamental in the life of the country, becomes a priority for the president, then the cabinet reshufflement will not be called cabinet reshufflement. It will be a transitional team. I think my brother mentioned something like that here. It will be the putting in place of a transitional team. And I believe strongly that that transitional team will not be put by President Paul Biya alone. It will be put by a system that has been there, which will not be broken. It cannot be broken. And that is why it is about time that Cameroonians understand the realities of politics in our country, so that we can either accept or not accept the system and the transition or the transitional team that we put in place. How is this transitional team going to be put in place? You asked the question to my brother whether the SDF, his party, is going to be part of that.
He's expecting.
He's going to be part. If he's expecting, means he's going to be part of that transition. The issue is this: you mentioned about people who are put in different positions, who have different competencies and all of that. The idea of this cabinet reshufflement, which I am against, is because people are not put in position of their competence. And that is why we see the kind of things that we see, the kind of goods and services that we have in this country is one of the worst in terms of services. I must be honest with us. You go to a ministry. I made it one point in time in my life that when I go to public offices, I don't speak French. Not that I don't know the French, but because if we say we are in a bilingual country, people who have been reshuffled, people who have been appointed by a presidential decree, to some extent must be able to even say good morning in English. If you cannot express yourself in the two official languages, you cannot be in a position of serving the interests of the country and serving the interests of the person who has appointed you. And that is why I say we must come to a place where we want to change the system. If we are ready to change the system, then we will be ready to be able to say, okay, we will be embracing the issue of whether cabinet reshufflement or not. So what I'm trying to say is that we cannot continue in the same line of thought and expect a different result.
Prince Ekoso, of course, of the United National Socialist Party in Cameroon. I'll come back to you, Chidjodone. We are getting towards the end of this program. A few words to the end of this program. Of course, it is very obvious that Cameroonians, of course, they are saying that they want change, which is very obvious. It is a demand that is very clean and clear. It is the authorities, their right to ask for change. And now we are expecting, it's been for a while, we've not seen any cabinet reshufflement, and people are asking the question, those who are in power, those who are manning position of responsibility, it's like they have overdue their stay. Do you think this cabinet reshufflement or cabinet reshuffle will be a way forward to bolster or to boost Cameroon's development or economy?
Well, before I say anything, very briefly, I want to call on the Prime Minister, Chief Dr. John Gute, and the Minister of Mines and Energy, that urgent measures should be taken to make sure that the gas plant that was presented to have been constructed in Bamenda gets functional, because we are 7 months away from the date on which that gas plant was inaugurated, and as I speak to you, I just read from the Post newspaper that not even a fact has come out from that gas plant.
Without publicity, please.
So it's not publicity. We are asking the Prime Minister and the Minister in charge to take urgent measures and make that gas plant functional. It should not still be another act of political dupery. People are suffering in the northwest and southwest regions, and particularly in the northwest. You cannot come and put a gas plant and you go 7 months later, the gas plant is not operational. That message, I think it should be gotten very clearly, and please, immediate action be taken.
Thank you very much.
Having said that, I told you, the issue of cabinet reshuffle is not the reshuffle in itself.
Thank you.
But it's the reshufflement to do what? And I've been very clear.
Thank you.
It should be a mission government.
Thank you
very much. It should be a transition government.
Thank you.
That will restore the dignity of Cameroon.
Thank you.
And build confidence of Cameroonians in their country.
Thank you very much. Let me just take this message before we come to the end of this program. Somebody is writing from Garoua, Mr. Esa from Garoua. The main problem of Cameroon is negligent. When a contract is being awarded to a company or individual, there is no follow-up. No report, no supervision. Once a contract is being awarded, all the hierarchy in that region takes their own shares till the contract or the contractor is left with 60% of the money, and he will start and abandon the project, and fake reports will surface. Of course, this is Issa from Garoua. We'll continue with this message. We take the second message. There are so many of them. Thank you very much. I enjoy your program. Your program is very nice. Keep it up. From Bafusam, no name. Of course, we continue with this message, of course, that is coming from Amala Brooks, Leon Amala Brooks. Good evening. My greetings to you, to your panel. The results of the presidential election sent a clear message to President Paul Biya, whether he won or not. There are several ministers who do not deserve to be held in their positions. In fact, out of the 50, I would not count more than 10 ministers who could be called such. What is the role of a prime minister when the secretary general of the presidency has all the powers of a vice president? They need to reduce the size of the government and send to book all those involved in embezzlement of state funds. Of course, that's Leon Amala Brooks from you didn't indicate where you're writing us from.
From Yaoundé.
You're not. You didn't indicate what you wrote. Thank you very much for your messages. The messages are so much. We can't, of course, read them because due to our time constraints. Your last word, Numfor, as activist. Of course, we are getting to the end of this program.
Thank you.
The solution to